Okay, so sorry, just ran out of time on the recording thing there. Okay, so we were talking about Cuba. It says President John F. Kennedy strengthened these sanctions following the Cuban government's nationalization of US companies that were based on the island, and a US ban on citizens visiting Cuba came into force in 1966. The Clinton administration further tightened the blockade in 1996 with the Helms-Burton Law, which imposed sanctions on companies that did business in Cuba, including non-US companies. The US began to normalise relations with Cuba under President Obama in 2014. In 2016, embassies were reopened in Havana and Washington, D.C., and the USA eased trade restrictions on Cuban rum and cigars. The Chinese yuan. The Chinese yuan became a reserve currency in 2015. It accounts for 10.9% of the world's foreign currency reserves, making it the fifth largest reserve currency behind the US dollar, euro, British pound and Japanese yen. It says, be aware, you may have seen the Chinese currency referred to as the renminbi. Both yuan and renminbi are correct. However, renminbi is the official name of the currency introduced by the Communist People's Republic of China at the time of its foundation in 1949. It means the people's currency. Yuan is the name of a unit of the renminbi currency. Something may cost 1 yuan or 10 yuan. It would not be correct to say that it costs 10 renminbi. Nor can you talk about the number of renminbi to the dollar. The yuan is also the fifth most used currency, although its 2015 share of such transactions was rather small at 2.5% when compared with other reserve currencies. The bulk of yuan transactions, 70% in 2015, were between mainland China and Hong Kong, which is part of China, and a global financial and trade centre even before its reunification with the mainland in 1997. A discussion of past international disputes and arguments that arise between nations over currency issues can be read here. So there's a link here if you want to go and read some more. Don't need to though. TNCs and global companies originating in the USA and China. Tables 2 and 3 show the most significant results of the Fortune magazine Global 500 survey, in which global corporations are ranked in terms of revenue. The significance of both US and Chinese companies is clear to see. So the top one there is Walmart in the USA, which is a retail company. Second, State Grid, China's power company. Third, China's National Petroleum. Fourth, Sinopec Group, which is again petroleum in China. The fifth is Royal Dutch Shell, which is the Netherlands petrol business. Six, ExxonMobil, the USA petrol business. Then you've got Volkswagen in Germany, which is cars. Toyota in Japan, which is cars. Apple in the USA, technology, and then British Petroleum from the UK. The next table says the breakdown of top 500 global companies by country of origin. So the USA has 134, China has 103, Japan has 52, France 29, and Germany 28. Okay, next section, foreign TNCs operating in China and the USA. TNCs operating in China. For many years, China has been the world's fastest growing economy. This growth has seen the emergence of a large number of affluent, middle-class, urban-based consumers with disposable income to spend on consumer and lifestyle goods. With 20% of the world's population and unprecedented rates of urban growth, China has become a prime target for investment by foreign transnational corporations. These include Western and non-Western TNCs representing food, consumer goods, vehicle manufacturers and technologies. Western TNCs operating and expanding rapidly include McDonald's with 2,000 restaurants, Pizza Hut and Apple. Non-Western TNCs found here include Korean chaebols such as LG, Kia, Hyundai and Samsung, and Japanese manufacturers such as Subaru, Toyota and Mitsubishi. TNCs operating in the US. In the US, foreign companies hold large, sometimes dominating positions in major industries like chemicals, pharmaceuticals, petroleum, electronics, and automobiles. For example, Unilever and Nestle account for 40% of the US ice cream market. In 2008, Forbes published a list of the foreign top 50 TNCs by revenue operating in the USA. You can observe the list by clicking the link there. The TNCs operating in the US were mostly and still are from Europe. The country of origin and number of TNCs is given below. So 11 from Germany, 8 from Japan, 7 from Switzerland, 6 from the Netherlands, and 5 from the UK. Okay, trading partners. China. Here are some of the main points about trade in China. Exported commodities, electrical and other machinery, including data processing equipment, apparel, furniture, textiles, integrated circuits. Main export partners, USA, Hong Kong, Japan, South Korea. Imported commodities, electrical and other machinery, oil and mineral fuels, nuclear reactors, boiler and machinery components, optical and medical equipment, metal ores, motor vehicles, and soybeans. Main import partners, South Korea, USA, Japan, Germany, and Australia. Okay, there's a really complicated graph that shows the relationship between China and the USA and their other trading partners. It's actually making my head hurt looking at it, so I'm just going to skip over that. The USA's main trading partners are shown in this map here. Again, quite complicated, but we just talked about that anyway. Here are some of the main points about trade in the USA. Exported commodities, agricultural products including soybeans, fruit and corn, industrial supplies, capital goods, which includes transistors, aircraft, motor vehicle parts, computers and telecommunications equipment, consumer goods, automobiles and medicines, the final one there. Main export partners, Canada and Mexico, obviously because of NAFTA, China and Japan. Imported commodities are agricultural products, industrial supplies, including crude oil, capital goods, consumer goods. Their main import partners are China, Canada, Mexico, Japan and Germany. Okay, then it says exam tip. Be aware of the types of exports, imports and the locations of the main trading partners for both the USA and China. Are the exports, imports of each qualitatively and quantitatively different? Do their spheres of influence overlap or are they separate? In the USA, is the USA more important to China or is China more important to the USA? Remember the command terms compare, contrast and compare and contrast. Okay, next section, membership of trading organisations, trade blocs and other trade agreements. The trading arrangements entered into by the USA are numerous and complex. For the USA, these arrangements are long-standing, while those entered into by China reflect its relatively recent emergence as a major trading nation. Both the USA and China are members of the World Trade Organization. The USA has 20 free trade agreements with other countries and China has 19. The USA is a member of NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, which unites the US, Canada and Mexico and is a tariff-free trade area. The USA is a member of the G7 and the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, both of which are discussed in the next section. China is a member of ACFTA, the ASEAN China Free Trade Area, where ASEAN is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Both China and the USA are members of the G20. China was also the host of the 2016 G20 summit meeting. China is a founding member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the SCO. It was founded in Shanghai on the 15th of June 2001 by China, Kazakhstan, the Kyrgyz Republic, Russia, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. Turkey, a member of NATO, was offered full membership of the SCO. India and Pakistan are also now members as of 2017. There's a very interesting map that shows all of the borders of those countries and how they form quite a large and quite dominant in terms of population and land area SCO, potential world domination is what that looks like to me. It says the SCO's aims are to strengthen relations among member states, promote cooperation in political affairs, economics and trade, scientific, technical, cultural and educational spheres, as well as energy, transportation, tourism and environmental protection, safeguard regional peace, security and stability, create a democratic, equitable, international political and economic order. Okay. It looks very much like China is trying to create a pathway into Europe and to kind of steal back some of those countries which used to be part of Russia. One of the projects sponsored by the SCO is the New Silk Road, which is an extension of the region's infrastructure beyond their national boundaries by land and maritime routes. Cargo trains can now run from China to Western Europe. It says, watch the video of the arrival of the first direct freight train from China to London and read about the new Silk Road here. I'll send you a link to that in a minute. The train is cheaper than air transport and faster than maritime transport. However, one train can only transport tens of freight containers, while the largest cargo vessel can carry almost 20,000. The world's largest cargo ship is operated by China Shipping Container Lines. Aid to other countries. International aid may take many forms. It may be financial or take the form of commodities such as food. Aid may be bilateral or multilateral. It may originate from official government bodies or non-governmental bodies such as charities. The USA has a well-developed network of official aid agencies as well as independent charities, while aid from China seems to largely be sponsored by the Chinese government and financial institutions. The RAND organisation has published a report into China's international aid donations. A short article analysing China's aid policy and links can be found here. Recipients of Chinese aid include countries in Asia, Africa, Oceania, Europe and Latin America and the Caribbean. Aid is also given to regional organisations such as the African Union, and the total amounts to 0.06% of China's GDP, which is less than the UN target of 0.7. China is itself the recipient of international aid. In 2014, China received aid from 35 countries, according to The Economist. The US, the recipients of US official aid assistance and amounts can be viewed on an OECD map, blah, 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 and it shows you all of the major places that the US donates to. It says, be aware, it should be noted that although China has been criticised for shortcomings in its aid contributions, the USA is not beyond reproach. Although the US does donate huge amounts of official development assistance in total, the percentage of GNI that this aid represents falls short of the UN guidelines as well. Okay, hold on, we've got one more bit to read. It says, when America sneezes, the world catches a cold. This is an old saying which described the dominance of the US in the 20th century. It simply means that economics in the US have a knock-on effect on the rest of the world. This was certainly true in the Great Depression, between the World Wars and the subsequent periods of growth and recession that followed. If the American economy worsens, then so does the global economy. Conversely, when the US economy recovers and grows, so do the economies of other nations. The global financial crisis of 2007-8 and the consequent period of economic stagnation originated in the US. However, the USA is no longer the dominant global economic force that it once was. It might be pertinent to ask what happens when China sneezes, although maybe not so much anymore. China goes global. From the start of the communist period to the late 1970s, China was effectively closed. In 1978, the government began a series of reforms to open the economy. To go global was and still is a central part of the series of 5-year plans implemented by the Chinese government over the last 40 years. The reforms are intended to increase and diversify agricultural output, encourage FDI, establish a private sector in the state-controlled economy through entrepreneurship, privatise non-strategic state industries, increase trade with the rest of the world. Achievements: annual GDP growth rates of 9.5 to 11.5%. A 6 times increase in average wages. China overtook the US to become the world's largest economy.